Indeed. But we'll see if this man is going to be able to continue his hot streak in the group. Still 2-1 in the group, third place. Very confident to take a playoff spot. It is spawning on the bottom right corner of the map. Team NV's creator.
And in the top left-hand side, not so confident, not so strong of a position for this Alpha X player, the pride and hope of America. It is Astrea.
Yep. And Neo Humanity, a map with no ramp in the natural, which means we're probably going to see 2 gate openers coming out of these players. The difference being that the creator has already opted to SCV scout, whereas Astrea might decide to do it after the second gateway. Checks for a cannon rush, nothing there. Pretty safe so far.
There's the gateway, and there will be the scout. Astrea, one of the only players, I think, that actively questions the scout timings and actively questions Nexus timings and that sort of thing, and cuts, on scouting pretty often, or just tries to. He's a very greedy player and a very big on min-maxing, right? Like, he always wants to get those little edges where he can get them, and when they work, they work. So far in this tournament, they haven't, though.
Yeah, this is already taking an interesting turn. I mean, maybe creators saw that there was no probe scout from Astrea, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna expand before I even make a cybernetic score. He didn't even bother making a second gateway, so
yeah,
if he gets away with this, it's gonna be a massive economic lead. So I'm curious to see what Astrea is gonna do once he finds out about that fast expand.
Oh, and it's a Stalker Adept. I was almost hoping for double Stalker to try to apply some pressure on the side of Astrea. Stalker Adept can also kind of do the job, but it feels a little bit like he's not anticipated that creator could do something like this as a response. And it is a wild response from a creator. We're giving all the props, or I was giving all the props to Astrea for being such an adaptive player and for cutting corners. But it's a creator who actually shows the better end of that in this game so far. So let's see if he can get away with it.
All right, so Astrea spots the shield battery and the Nexus timing, so he knows that he is on the pressure is on him to make something happen. Creator still has a probe across the map, and it's going to be a Robo opener versus a Stargate opener.
Yeah, it's a very quick Stargate, but Astrea does drop his Nexus behind it, so he just needs to do a little bit of damage, not really committing to an all-in or anything like that as a response.
Yeah, I mean, the only realistic unit we can see here is Oracle, right?
Sure.
He needs to deal some damage.
Yeah, 100%. Has to be an Oracle here. And there it gets fired up. And that Oracle does have a mission, does have a job. It has to kill, 3-4 probes, right, for Astrea to feel comfortable going into the mid-game.
Which would actually be very difficult because Creator did spot the Stargate with his proxy or his hidden probe. So he should have a shield battery or units in position, really.
Okay. Interesting placement of the pylon for Astrea as well in his mineral line. Is actually going to delay all of the probes that transfer over by an extra second or so. So maybe a little bit unfortunate, but I can see. I mean, it's a nice pocket, but yeah, not my favorite this time around. Here comes the Oracle. This is the first important piece of the first important gadget, I guess, that Astrea is going to have to work with. Here comes also the Adept to combo with the Oracle. So in spite of the shield battery here, Astrea finding some damage. Very creative way to do it. Very unusual way to do it. And it will work out. Does get the 4 probes that we were asking for. And with that, Astrea will find himself in a playable position.
Indeed. I mean, Creator did have some good vision with the Observer, but the Oracle actually came from the place that he was not expecting into the natural. And very cute way to combo one Oracle with one Adept to overcome the shield battery.
Yeah, and now the 2 Oracles together are going to combo, and oh no, Mr. Oracle! He's going to go down, but that's okay. I mean, this kind of speaks to the creativity of Astrea, like just using the units and resources in ways that other players don't really often use them. I'm not saying that he's the first person ever to combo an Oracle with an Adept, but at a high-level play, I really haven't seen much of that, if ever before, to be honest. That was crazy cool.
Yeah, And it looks like the game is going to end up pretty even after that in the follow-ups, as both players go into 3-gate blink with identical third base timings. So really anyone's game at this point. Very, very even stuff.
Very, very even stuff indeed. And that move, by the way, with the Oracle and the Adept, like I'm not really sure if you can out DPS the shield battery if the shots don't sync up like perfectly, pretty much, or close to. But if there is some room for error where you can just click on the same probes and not worry too much about syncing up, if that's not a skill set you need, I mean, it should be pretty replicable for a lot of players to where it looked like Astrea had to find damage that was going to be difficult to find, but then he made it look like it was never difficult to find that damage. You know what I'm saying? He made it look like it was damage that Creator was going to take 100%.
Yeah, and that's what Astrea is really good at, making things look easy.
Right.
As this is the man who got second place in the Home Story Cup just a few months ago. So this kid, he's going places. Of course, he needs to secure a win here in the series. So I think so far he's ringing his A game. So I'm very proud of him so far for doing so. But we'll see. He is poising himself to take a little bit of free resource from Creator, just catching a probe here and there. But yeah, so far nothing glaringly obvious that could give an advantage to Astrea just yet.
Yeah, for sure not. And it's going to be difficult to push into this Immortal here that has Creator as an anchor at this location. Observer will get spotted here by the Oracle as well as the rest of the army of Creator. So Astrea looking to try and blink micro into an advantage here, as Creator continues to hover over his third base, where he is going to be pretty safe with a shield battery should he need it. Fourth base will be found from Astrea. I think he can get a cancel on this easily and blink away. Beautiful, as he drops his own.
And there it is, the first piece of advantage that he managed to grab in this mid game. I mean, he already has his fourth base halfway done. He has the map control that he needs. So really looking really good for Astrea. He's even making 7 gateways at the same time, while a Creator himself chooses to stay on 6, going up to 8 now actually. So really a gateway explosion on both sides here, but especially for Astrea.
Yeah, charge slot being researched on both sides as well, +1 finishing on both sides. Robo being added for Astrea, and that kind of cues me into that he wants to make a Warp Prism and move out, possibly as soon as it's out, right? Like, because he's going to have all of his production kind of exploding at that point. He is going to have that fourth mining for a little bit longer than Creator could have had his fourth. So I think that would be a pretty good timing. The fourth is perfectly saturated as well, and Astrea is now cutting probes.
Yeah, like you can see, these guys are not interested in making disruptors. They're not interested in teching up. There's still no gases on the third, no gases on the fourth. Actually, the fourth is a bit misplaced here for Creator, which is going to cost him a bit of economy in the long run.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate.
Astrea with a blink forward to pick off a Stalker will get punished. Maybe, not really. Alright, the other Stalker though at the Watchtower does get protected by his gaggle of friends as they blink on forward, but ultimately he is left to die, then tended to and saved. So Warp Prism on the way now for Astrea. +2 will be a little bit quicker for him, but hard to imagine that there will be a timing where he can hit and get a full advantage from that.
Yeah, usually in a PvP, you want to usually compete in upgrades by seeing how much you chrono boost your own forge. So that is really the only deciding factor that can influence on the speed.
Oh, big.
Unfortunate here for Astrea as he loses the Warpers. But look at this. Creator might be sandwiched, but then Astrea gets counter sandwiched. So interesting start to the engagement over here.
Looking very good for Creator to start here. I mean, that was brilliant from him. Both players pretty much going for the same army compositions here. Mass amounts of Zealots, some Stalkers here. Astrea will finish that +2 a little bit quicker. And if the fight is already happening, then that could be an edge that helps him a little bit, but he needs the help right now. That start to the engagement was definitely favoring Creator. Economy is favoring Astrea though. So as this extends, it could be really good for him as he blinks on forward, identifying just that he had more Stalkers. And there's not very much surface area for the Zealots to really take advantage to in these chokes. Astrea now blinking back onto the safety of a shield battery, but the shield battery is now exposed and the Zealots will leap on forward onto it. So Astrea really struggling for positioning here. He needs more Warpins to try and make something happen. Wants to attack the Zealots back and have the Stalkers fight instead.
He's going for the Warp Prism.
Nice.
He is going to get it, but still. Creator already has the army value. He keeps the army value advantage so far. Maybe Astrea played a bit too greedy because he is kind of hurting for units, but the move with the Warp Prism is exactly what he needed to maybe try and come back into this defense. This is desperate time for Astrea. He needs to warp in more and more units, and he has the money. He's just missing the warp cycles.
All right, well, there's more Stalkers. I kind of do like not going for the Zealot numbers here because he's already very outmatched in that regard. So he has to find value out of just greater Stalker numbers and positional advantages where all of his Stalkers are going to fire and Creators are not. Or, I mean, Creators kind of matching him in every regard, though, and just has a lot more Zealots to work with. This is looking worse and worse for Astrea, who is now even in Workers, blinking back to what he thinks is possibly the safety of a cannon, but not even a shield battery here, Diego.
Yeah, and no shield battery means no shield battery overcharge that can help him maybe win this fight as he gets pushed into the choke of his own base. And Creator is just churning out
What a
units.
beast.
He's sprinting Zealots like brrr,
Yeah,
and nothing
absolutely
can stop
beautiful
it, man.
spread here from Creator as well. And that's going to be pretty good. It looks like it might be game ending, to be honest. It's difficult to imagine that Astrea is going to be able to hold. One more shield battery will finish in the back. It's instantly overcharged, but that's not enough. And Astrea somehow, some way, seems to be pushing Creator back. I mean, if he can push Creator back, he can still stabilize. He is actually a base up.
He is indeed. He did lose a few probes, but nothing he can't recover from. It is very important that he just holds on by the skin of his teeth, but still 30 supply disadvantage and army. The numbers don't lie. It is looking dicey. He's going to need multiple Warpins to be able to hold this.
Yeah, blinks on
just cannot
forward.
afford.
Yeah. Blinks on forward, identifying that Nexus was going to get targeted there from Creator, so gets a few shots for free at the expense of his Nexus. And now Creator, with a massive supply lead, has grown up to now over 50. And yeah, I mean, he's going to take this base down comfortably. That was the one advantage that Astrea could have held on to had he held those grounds. But now, nothing really to speak of on his behalf. Only 4 workers behind, same amount of real estate, but the army differential still 40.
Yeah, I mean, Astrea did try and go for a counterattack, but Creator already on top of things split off his own number of Zealots to intercept it. This man sees everything. He's ready for everything, and I think he wants to take his 1-0 lead in this series right now.
It looks like he will. Astrea with a little bit of a Zealot flank here, as Creator hesitant to go up the ramp where the Zealots are not going to find much surface area onto the Stalkers. But he just has too much. I think a blink forward could be warranted. Not needed, as Astrea is going to tap out instead. And Creator, absolute beast, mirrored builds Diego. And Creator comes out on top.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly where you assert dominance. Mirror builds is where you can show, hey, I'm the better player. If we do the same thing, I'm just going to beat you with my superior decisions and my superior macro, and maybe even better micro in certain cases. As we saw, sometimes Astrea was canceling the charge from his own Zealots, which ended up just having a weaker re-engagement later on. So, yeah, well done to Creator. Good start.
Yeah, good positional play. I think it came down to the flank, perhaps, and I don't know how he had that many more units than Astrea. Astrea had made an extra 10 workers up until that point, so that's something that plays into it a little bit. But production-wise, I thought Astrea was pretty well set, and regardless of that, did he miss production cycles? Because his production was there, but you said he was floating a little bit of money at some points.
Yeah, he was, but I think at that point he was already in too much of a disadvantage in army size.
The game is no longer available. Did they start without me?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
Let me invite you.
You best invite me. Thank you, Diego.
I got your back.
Thank you.
I think what it was that Astrea went for the 5th base, right? He fully saturated 5th base, whereas Creator didn't even think about it. He didn't even bother starting a 5th base.
Oh, that's a good
and
point,
that was
It wasn't
That
just
that
the
was, I think,
resources.
that the gap, the money gap that he had and that went into army versus economy, and he didn't give Astrea enough time to be able to produce enough to make up for that fifth base that he invested into.
That's a very good point. I mean, that's 400 resources plus the 10 workers on top of that. So, 900 resources that he was lacking in that first engagement, and defender's
Yeah.
advantage wasn't enough. So, yeah. Very good point. So, let's see if Astrea can do something here in this next game to try and come back. The American hero in the top left-hand side of the map is Astrea for Alpha X.
And on the
Alpha
bottom right
X.
corner, it is up 1-0 in this series. It is GSL finalist Creator. In a one-gate expand map.
Yeah, both players are going to be doing that. And both players are going to be scouting right after as well. So maybe Astrea not liking the flavor that Nexus before Core left in his mouth as well.
Indeed. And this is usually where you see variations in these mirror builds, where it's the timing of the second gas. But here, in this case, not that much variation, actually. So we are going to see pretty much mirror matchup right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you see the probe in the middle of the map, I think that not dropping the gas is just kind of like a sketchy decision. Because then any good player will block your Nexus, right? Like likely to drop a pylon, etc. So both players likely to start a Zealot as well in case that happens. But neither player doing it now. Okay, Creator. Okay, both players now starting a Zealot just in case that happens, right? So anticipating that this will happen when you scout the probe in the middle of the map, if you're not taking a gas, you're just going to be floating money.
Yeah. And I think the difference is here, I mean, for example, Astrea opted not to start the pylon in the natural just yet, whereas Creator did, which actually cost him a few more minerals than, honestly, he should have spent.
Yeah, and that's just good awareness from Astrea, right? Like having his timings down to go into the main, see that there is gases out, and when you see the gases, you confirm, okay, you don't have the money for the Nexus, right? The ultimate mind game there would be to not take the gases, anticipating that your opponent will go into the main. The probe does get taken down from Astrea, and the Zealot will work at a single pylon that has no possibility of reinforcement. Astrea trying to return the favor, but not going to be able to. Instead, will have to turn his attention to the pylon. The probe will eventually go down, and both players will get their Nexus.
It was actually really unfortunate that Astrea lost his probe, because he could have made a cyber core there to delay even more the Nexus. So really unlucky.
Yeah. In a sense, it does end up happening to both, but it doesn't take an Adept on the side of Creator. The Adept of Astrea does shade in barely!
No,
the probe doesn't block it! That probe had one job.
There is no... He skipped the gateway unit in favor of Phoenixes, but like, nothing can kill this Adept. He's gonna have to pull probes. Oh no, he messed up the shade a little bit and then just getting surrounded.
Oh, very nice moves from Astrea, trying to still get a little bit of surface area to cram himself in there. Kills the right probe in order to advance further into the middle line, and a random Zealot now shows up. The Phoenix can lift it up, but for nothing to kill it. Still, okay, there's another Phoenix. So both Phoenixes both they're gonna have to use their lifts both. On the other side,
I mean, Astrea's Phoenix is later, so wouldn't you be scared? Maybe like 3 Phoenixes can come in while you still have 2.
Do you just surround the Zealot here with the probes? I mean,
I think you can afford to spend all of your energy in lifting, to be honest.
Yeah, especially in Phoenix versus Phoenix, it's going to be very unlikely for you to want to go on the other side. As I say, that Creator getting a little bit adventurous, but sees the next Phoenix of Astrea being corner boosted, and that would be enough to defeat him. So, Phoenix versus Phoenix Wars, the classic.
Indeed. And now we have 3 Phoenixes versus 3 Phoenixes, so anything can happen. I'll be surprised to see any of the players take these risks. Of course, you always want to fight on your side of the maps, so that you have the defender's advantage of having more Phoenixes rallied to your army.
Absolutely. The other thing that you definitely want to do is clump up your Phoenixes periodically, so that you have a chance at starting the engagement with all of your Phoenixes firing at once. In which case, I mean, you have even Phoenixes, that could be a great edge. So you'll see these players bunching their Phoenixes time and time again before inching forward.
Astrea already starting the life hack of spamming pylons around the map, because in Phoenix Wars there is no anti-structure, so this will actually give the Astrea the vision he needs to react accordingly. Astrea's second target was much faster.
Whoa! Phoenix down! Phoenix down! I repeat, Diego, Phoenix down, and that can really snowball things for Creator. 2 have already fallen for Astrea. Astrea wants to try to capitalize and not leave empty-handed, but it's 3 Phoenix against 6 now on the side of Creator out on the map, and this was nasty bad for Astrea. He's trying to bunch up to get a good shot and maybe get some sort of an advantage, but for the most part, Creator's Phoenix is very healthy here. Things are looking dreadful for America.
Yeah, I mean, what does Astrea do now? He is sending the Phoenixes around. I think he just wants to hide his Phoenixes for now, because, of course, Creator knows he has the lead. He is going to try to fly into his base and just pin those Phoenixes down, not let them get out of the Stargate. So I'm not sure. This is like crisis control for Astrea at this moment. I'm not sure how he recovers from this.
Me neither. I mean, I don't see his plan, right? Like, I see what he is doing on screen. I don't see how it ties together into a win. There's no transition whatsoever. Here come the Phoenix. They're going to lift up multiple probes, and you might think that's fantastic, but on the other side, there's more Phoenix with more energy, and that should mean more dead probes. So, oh no, don't, he's found, there's no time to recall anymore. All of these Phoenixes are gonna go down, and I won't be surprised if we see a GG called at this point in time. Astrea in dire straits here. 10 workers have gone down on the other side, but who cares? Many more are gonna fall here.
Oh, that is a rough way to go. I mean, Phoenix Wars, that's just a difficult match. And the moment you lose 1 extra Phoenix than your opponent, and it usually just ends. So
that's why
very
I got so
brutal
excited
start
for the
of
first.
game.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because in Phoenix fights, it felt like that first engagement was going to determine the game, and then it did. And yeah, I mean, it's just 1 Phoenix goes down and the game is over pretty much. It's just crazy.
I mean, Astrea did try some moves. I think it was interesting that he tried to counterattack, maybe catch like a reinforcement Phoenix off guard. But yeah, that without that recall, then he just ended up losing every single Phoenix he had at home.
Yeah, Astrea continues to camp there the Phoenix production, and the Creator's actually gonna cancel a Phoenix and make a Void Ray instead. It's all over, and there's no chance of Jose.
Yeah, I mean, even empowering these buildings, I'm not sure what Astrea does at this point.
There is just nothing to do, right? Like, there's absolutely nothing to do. He's making 3 probes at a time, but even just the Zealot is uncontested. He is chrono boosting Phoenixes, but I mean, to what extent? The probes do get the surround on the Zealot eventually, and this Void Ray, I'm gonna have some Phoenixes to contend with, but I think a Shield Battery is even finishing, or it's a Cannon actually, which will fend off the Phoenixes of Astrea further. A Stalker will be donated by Creator. Nice guy, but not gonna be nearly enough here. If Astrea wins this game somehow, Diego, I don't even know. I don't even know.
I don't even know. I mean,
I'll give you $1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's go, Astrea.
All right, get hyped. Well, that's the hypest you've gotten. Do it.
He does have, let's see, 8 Phoenixes against 9 Phoenixes on this side of the map. No, that's still not enough. Maybe if he warps in a Stalker, that will give him the DPS that he needs.
Oh, maybe with the Stalker.
Win this fight.
Here comes the Stalker. 2 shots gets the Stalker onto the clump of Phoenix. But it's just not nearly enough. Just like that, Diego Schwimmer lost $1,000.
Wait, what?
What?
Oh no!
Well, we bet $1,000 on this, no?
You wish. Definitely not a bet that I will take, as Astrea is poised to lose this series, and I think he's knocked out of the tournament with this.
Oh, that's so sad. The hope of America. I mean, so many hopes for Astrea going into this one, but not to be consolidated into anything. And on the bright side, Creator does get a stronger spot in the tournament, and he is a contender still in this group. He has been doing all right, dropping a series to Gumiho earlier today, but he will be breathing a little bit easier after this